Yeah, hi. Good morning and good evening, everyone. Welcome back. So, yesterday we completed Ansible. So, till now, what we have done here, first we discussed Linux admin concepts because Linux is the major part in DevOps because we are daily working with servers. We need to understand the Linux commands and then Linux OS. So that's why we learned Linux. So later we discussed project and then we configured it manually. So now you understood what is the project about, what is the project business, it is e-commerce and what are the modules available. And later we learned shell scripting and then later we learned Ansible. Okay. So now it is the time to discuss about infrastructure. Okay, infrastructure is also a major part in DevOps because infrastructure is not only about the servers, it is about everything like security groups, VPC, IAM users, and then databases and load balancers, Route 53 records. Everything is coming under infrastructure. Okay, so infrastructure, now you can clearly understand creating infrastructure manually will give us a lot of problems. For example, we are creating EC2 instances and we are creating manually from the console. If something goes wrong, actually we need to terminate and then we need to create again. Okay, so that is why we got something. Okay, we'll discuss the disadvantages of creating the infrastructure manually through the console. Okay, and then we will understand something called as infrastructure as a code. Okay, so this is generally called as IAAC or IAC. Okay, infrastructure as a code. What is Ansible? You have multiple options to create to baseline the server or to configure the server, right? One is manual, and the other one is we have shell script or three Ansible. So out of this, Ansible is more preferred because that is configuration as a code. Now here we have the same concept. It is infrastructure as a code. So this is config as a code. This is infra as a code. So what is the advantage of Ansible? Because you are working daily with servers, you cannot log into the server, you cannot run the commands, you cannot configure it manually because that takes a lot of time. So, but if you keep it inside Ansible, you can just run the script within minutes, you will get the configuration ready. Similarly, infrastructure also, we are daily creating the servers again and again, but if you keep that infrastructure as a code, if you just run the script, your infrastructure will be created easily within minutes. Okay, and it has a lot of advantages. So Terraform is a popular IAC tool in the market. Okay, very popular. Almost every company in DevOps and cloud, they're using Terraform. Okay, I can say 90%. Remaining 10%, we have something from AWS CloudFormation, different cloud providers. Okay, but Terraform is a popular infrastructure as a code tool. Just like Ansible, popular configuration management, similarly popular infrastructure management or infrastructure as a code. Okay. So in today's session, Terraform is very crucial, very, very crucial as a DevOps engineer, and it is easy as well. Okay. So it is in interviews, questions on Terraform is definitely they will ask questions on Terraform. Okay. So if you are able to answer Terraform interview questions, then you will be mostly selected as DevOps and cloud engineer because nowadays Terraform is almost popular. Earlier, everybody was creating infrastructure through the console, but nowadays everyone is creating infrastructure through the Terraform, and it is obviously some scripting, just like Ansible. Okay. So our interviewers understanding is manually any person can do, but they prefer scripting way. either shell scripting, Ansible scripting, Terraform, Kubernetes. Our interviewers are preferring scripting way. They don't prefer to do it in a console or to do it in a manual way. Okay, everybody prefers in automation way. So Terraform is also infrastructure automation. So that is why it is very popular and it is mandatory and it is very easy also. Okay, so in today's session, we will discuss the environment setup, and then we will discuss the advantages. Okay. Anyhow, first let us discuss the advantages. Maybe theoretical for next half an hour. So the first advantage we can say is version control. So you'll get this question, what is IAC? What is Terraform? So you'll get this question in interviews, okay? So we no need to ask command line questions. What is the command? What is the Ansible module to use? So actually, as an interviewer, I don't ask such questions. I will ask the questions related to the concept. So what is your understanding on Terraform? What is your understanding on Ansible? If your understanding is correct, obviously anybody can do a simple Google search and find out the modules, find out the commands, and we can do it. If your understanding itself is not correct, then it doesn't matter, number of modules, number of commands. So that doesn't matter. That will not work. Okay, if your first thing is your understanding should be correct. So then only we can go for low level, like what is the command, what is the module, what is the syntax. These are secondary for me, at least for me. And there are some people like me also, they will concentrate only on the concept. They don't concentrate on the low level questions. So if I take the interview, definitely I'll ask what is your understanding on Terraform. Okay, if your understanding is correct, then you can do anything in Terraform. So that's what we are going to discuss now. So just imagine I'm asking you a question. What is your understanding on Terraform? Why should we use Terraform? What are the advantages of Terraform? Okay. First thing is version control. So we are using GitHub for the version control. Okay, because we are doing a lot of commits, right? So obviously this is a code. Since Terraform is a code, it should be kept in version control so that we can maintain the history and we can go back, we can revert to previous version if something goes wrong. Something goes wrong. Okay. So just like our Android phones, so we are getting new Android versions maybe frequently. So if the present Android version is not working properly, you have an option to go to the previous version. So how is it possible? Because they are keeping the Android OS code inside the GitHub repository. In similar way, whatever the scripting we discuss here, like shell, Ansible, or infrastructure, if you keep it in a GitHub, you always have a option to go to the previous version. Okay, so that is the advantage of version control if you keep the source code in GitHub. So we are keeping the Terraform source code also in GitHub, just like Ansible. So we always have an option to go to the previous version. That is the main advantage. And then consistent infrastructure. So yesterday we have seen this, right? In Ansible, we have multiple environments like dev, QA, and then pre-prod, UAT, and then production. So as we discussed yesterday, there is always a problem in software. So that is working in non-production environment, but not working in production environment. So your application will work perfectly while you are testing in dev environment, QA environment, but it will not work when you release it into the production environments. So the problem is inconsistent configuration. Inconsistent configuration across environments. So dev, we don't take it as a serious environment. We will do whatever we want. And then only production, we are very serious because, and it has more firewall rules implemented. Dev, nobody will take it as a serious environment. That is the problem. So that is the problem solved by Ansible also. So yesterday we have created what is this multi-environment. So our configuration code is completely same. Okay. So our configuration code is completely same, but only difference is the IP addresses we are targeting. 1 second. Okay. So the entire code is different. The entire code is different. Only difference is like passwords and then the IP address we are targeting, that is different. So that will give us consistent infrastructure across all the environments. Similarly, Terraform is also a code. It will give us the same code, same Terraform code you run against multiple environments. So all environments is exactly same. So this is the popular reason also nowadays Terraform is very popular. Terraform is frequently used. Okay? Because you write the Terraform code only once and you use the same code across all the environments. Now there is no problem of working in development environment, but not working in production environment. Okay? So this is also one of the reason. And then CRUD, you know what is CRUD? Create, read, update, delete. Okay. You can create the configuration, you can read the configuration, you can update the configuration, you can delete the configuration Ansible, right? So if I give you a simple Linux server, if you maybe you logged in into the Linux server, it is very difficult for you to know what is installed in that, what is running. You cannot check manually, but by seeing the Ansible code, you can definitely say what is running inside, what are the packages installed, what are the configurations. Similarly, you can create, that is, you can create the infrastructure using Terraform. You can read also. Okay, you can read what is our infrastructure, just like this. And you can update whenever you want, and you can delete also. Okay, so that is the advantage. You can do CRUD against the infrastructure. And then inventory management. Okay, inventory management is nothing but, you know, what are all the packages, what are the services available. Just like that in your AWS. So this, you have a lot of regions, right? And you have a lot of services. Maybe we frequently forget what in which region, what are the resources we created. So it is very difficult to go to the each region and each service and to understand what are the services we created. Okay. Just for example, or imagine I'm disabling the write access through the console. Okay. You are not allowed to create any services through the AWS console. Okay, you are only allowed to create the services through the Terraform. Okay, now just by seeing the Terraform code generally, you can easily, by seeing Terraform code, you can say what are the services you are using, what are the services and resources you are using for a particular project. Okay, this is nothing but inventory management. So you are working for RoboShop project, then after a few days, RoboShop client will send an email to you. What are the inventory? What is the inventory for our RoboShop infrastructure? What are the services we are using? How many resources we have? Just give me a complete list. This is the question from your client. So how can you tell this? If you are doing in a manual way through the console, it is very difficult for you to go to the each service and then you find the resources and to provide a report. That is very difficult. But if you see the Terraform code, you can easily understand what are the resources you are using, and then you can give that report. So that is about the inventory management, and then cost optimization also. So you have the full inventory here, you have the full resources. You can create, you can delete at a time. Okay, but if you do it in a manual way, frequently you forget to delete the resources. But if you do it through the Terraform, just by running one command, you can easily delete the resources. When you need, you create infra. When not required, you delete the infra. Okay, so that will reduce the bill. Okay, there is no chance, there is no option to forget. Okay, you can easily delete the resources. And dependency management also. The dependency management, while creating EC2 instance, what is the dependency we have? Security group. Okay, so here, if you do it the manual way, first create security group and then create EC2. But if you do it through Terraform, you have EC2 and then security group code. So Terraform, it will automatically understand I need to create security group and then I need to go for EC2. Okay. And another advantage we have is modules. In Ansible, we have roles. Okay, what is roles? Try. Don't repeat yourself. So what we did in Ansible, we have created a common role and we are using it wherever required. Okay. So this is central. So you keep it a code in a central and then you use it whenever you want instead of duplicating the code. So that is the best principle, best practice of any coding, either in programming or in scripting. Okay, so the same concept we have in Terraform. You don't need to create the Terraform code again and again for multiple projects. You can reuse it. The concept here, it is called as modules. Just naming convention is different. That's it. But the concepts are always same. Okay, so this is modules. You can reuse the code. So this is also very popular in Terraform. So because of these advantages, we are using Terraform and it is mandatory for every project. So you understand this. And the final thing, Terraform is imperative or declarative. What is your opinion? Okay. So it is obviously declarative. So declarative, just take it as granted. Declarative is always simple and there is no need to follow the sequence and mostly everything can be handled by the declarative. So Terraform is a popular declarative scripting for infrastructure automation. So you tell this in interview, what is Terraform? What is your understanding on Terraform? You can say Terraform is a popular declarative scripting for infrastructure automation. Then they may ask what is declarative. Declarative, you can say declarative is comparatively easy syntax and and no sequence, no need of sequence execution. Okay, and we will get it whatever we write if we follow syntax. Okay, no need to write it in a sequence way, one step, second step, not like that. You can keep it anywhere inside the file. A Terraform, a declarative programming language, will automatically understand. Okay, so this is the first sentence you can tell in your own words, and then you can tell these are the advantages of Terraform. So that's why Terraform is very popular nowadays. Okay. So anyhow, we are going to justify all these things, just like how we justified the Ansible advantages over shell scripting. So in our Terraform discussion, in our Terraform thing, we are going to justify all these advantages finally. So first, let us discuss on the environment setup. So we have our laptop, and we have VS Code. So obviously for scripting, you need to use the IDE, right? Again, IDE here is VS Code. Now you know already how to use the VS Code, and then we will use. So first of all, let us download Terraform. Terraform download. Just like Ansible, it's a simple command line tool. Install. Okay, I have already. Let me delete that. Deleting to show. Okay. Let us check, and we use git bash as a command line again. Terraform version. Okay, it's not form. So it's very easy. So here, just click on download. And then I'm cutting it from the download. So usually I will create a folder generally software. So you can keep it anywhere, and you paste here, extract. Okay. After extracting, you will get a folder. Inside this is our command line, terraform.exe. You can just keep it here. I'm removing these two. Okay. So Terraform is a simple command line, and the installation is also very simple. You have to keep terraform.exe somewhere in some folder in your Windows, okay, in your file system. So just by keeping it here, it is not enough, and you need to give environment variables. Okay, environment variables are system variables. Okay, you can edit anywhere. System variables, it will be set up for all the users in your Windows, and environment variables is only particular user. For example, you are the only user for your laptop, then you can always set it up in environment variables. And if you keep it in system variables, if you have multiple users in your laptop, you can keep it in system variables. Okay, either of it. So, but keeping it in system variables is a universal thing. So you copy this path, and then environment variables. In system variables, there is a thing called path. You can check here, path. Edit this, and here just click on new. You need to give this path. Okay. So now why we are giving the path here? Because whenever you issue a command, something in your Windows or Linux, it will always check in all the paths. So your operating system will try to find out where is that command. If it is not finding, then it will give you an error. Okay, so that's it. Okay, and then okay. So now let me exit and then create again. Open again git bash. Git bash or Windows command prompt, anything you can use. But in git bash, we will get some colors. Terraform, now if you type, now you can see, you are able to see the options because you downloaded terraform.exe into some folder and you are giving path in environment variables. If you don't give here, obviously your command is not found. Okay, click environment variables and then either in system variables or in environment variables here. So select path, edit, and give that folder location new. Okay, it is in softwares. That is why I gave softwares. Okay, it should be the path where terraform.exe exists. Okay, yeah. So this is the Terraform installation. So now VS Code. So we will obviously use VS Code. And we have our AWS account. This is our AWS account. And this VS Code will connect with terraform.exe. Finally, terraform.exe is the one to get in touch with our AWS account. Okay. So you are writing in VS Code and that is taken by terraform.exe. And authentication is very important, right? Authentication is very important. How Terraform can check the authentication? You are the right user for the AWS. So that is AWS command line we have. AWS command line. So you are writing code in Visual Studio, and then the Terraform.exe is going to be in contact with AWS account, but it needs to check the authentication. For authentication purpose, it will always use AWS command line. So that is again command. So AWS account is the server. AWS command line is the client. So using AWS command line. So, and you know, we already used it while creating the servers. So this one. So this is the AWS command. So AWS command can interact with AWS account. So Terraform is using AWS command line for the authentication purpose. Okay. And then once authentication is successful, then terraform.exe can connect with AWS account and it can push the resources you wrote here. Okay. So AWS command line is also very important. So let me uninstall first in my system. Okay, let it uninstall. So you select Windows here, and then yeah. So this is the download.msi. So installation is very easy, just like any installation in our Windows. Clicking on double click. Next. So next, next, next. Stop. Yes. Okay, finish. So now it is installed automatically. Okay, just refresh. Yeah, we have it. So how can you check? Take command prompt or again git bash and then give AWS hyphen version. Okay, we have AWS CLI 2.13. So what are the packages you need to install? VS Code and then terraform.exe. Keep it in a folder and set the path. And AWS CLI V2. Okay, you install it. And we need one user for authentication purpose, right? So the user we are using till now, it is the root user of your account. Okay, it cannot be used for the scripting purpose or command line purpose. So you need to create always one user. So let us go to the IAM. Don't worry, we will discuss about IAM as well. Just for now, we are creating one user. Okay, go to users here, and I have one thing, I'm removing it. Okay, create one user, can be with any name. Okay, I'm just giving Terraform. So you have an option to provide user access to the AWS management console. We don't need this because we are using this user only for the command line purpose, not for the UI purpose. Okay, no need to select this. Next, and you can attach policies directly and give administrator access. Because why I'm giving administrator access? Because I'm going to create almost all the resources we are using. So we are giving administrator access. Next, and then create user. Okay, so user is created. Now you open this user, and here there is a tab called security credentials. So since there is no username and password, these are the tokens. Okay, create access key, command line interface. Okay, we are connecting from the command line. Then select this. Okay, command line interface like this. Next, and create access key. So these are the two things. Instead of username and password, you are getting access key and secret key. Copy this. Again, it will not be visible. So this is your access key and this is your secret key. So once you lost it, you need to download again. You can download also. So once you come out of this window, these keys will not be shown. You can just read here. If you lost, if you lose this, you need to create again. Okay, done. It's fine, not a problem. You can always create again and again. Okay, so these are your access key. Secret key will not be shown. So just make a note of this. You can always change once in a 7 days also. So you have this access key and secret key. Okay. So now here you can say AWS configure. Now you need to give your access key and then secret key. And which region? I'm going to work in US East 1 region, not Virginia. And default format, just enter. That's it. Okay. So now you configured AWS command line successfully. Now for just to test AWS S3 LS, can give. So you'll get the S3 bucket. If you don't have S3 bucket also, if it is not giving any error, it means you successfully configured user to the AWS account. Okay. So again, what are the steps here? Create IAM user with admin access, generate access key and secret key, and run AWS configure. Give US East 1 region as default one. Okay, so that's it. Our authentication is done. This is authentication. So as we discussed, Terraform will connect with AWS CLI v2 for authentication purpose. Okay. So the setup is done. Now we need to just create one thing like EC2 instance. So we will always refer Terraform documentation. That is very easy, like Ansible, and yeah, anybody can easily understand through Terraform documentation. Terraform, you just create EC2. Or else let's go to the Terraform website. So AWS is one of the providers. Like that, we have many providers. Terraform can be used with Terraform provider. Terraform is called as generally hybrid infra automation, IaaC. So it means you can create AWS resources, you can create Google Cloud resources, you can create Azure. In fact, you can create GitHub resources, anything. So these are all called as providers. For example, you are running a website, okay, our own website. We can develop providers, and now Terraform can create resources into our website. Okay. So Terraform, it is not only for AWS, it is for anything. It has a lot of providers. If you just see Terraform providers, we have AWS, because obviously AWS is very popular. It is the first cloud platform that is always, AWS has more community, and Azure, GCP, Kubernetes, Alibaba Cloud, Oracle, and it has many other providers also. Thousands of providers. You can see 3,486. You can create GitHub repositories using Terraform. Okay, now let us see. So we have our RoboShop, right? We are creating users. Okay, create users or sign up. So ideally, if you are a developer, okay, you can develop RoboShop provider, RoboShop Terraform provider. Okay. and you can use Terraform to create users. Okay, so it is not only for cloud environment, it is for anything. If you have a provider available. Okay, so but mostly it is popular for the cloud. We are using AWS provider. If you are using Azure, you need to use Azure provider. So now let us create one Terraform session 1. Okay. So in today's session, you can see creation of EC2. Okay. So we don't know how to create. Just let us go through the syntax. Syntax is very easy. Terraform EC2. Just type like this, Terraform EC2 instance. Okay. So you'll get this. Terraform EC2, that is the module actually. Yeah, you can see this one, AWS underscore instance. Okay, so this is the page. It will tell you what are the options available. Okay. So we change the documentation. It's selecting as TypeScript. Now, I don't know why it's selected as TypeScript in the URL. Okay, this is the one. Okay. Yeah, Terraform syntax is called as HCL, HashiCorp Configuration Language. Okay. For Terraform is from HashiCorp. HashiCorp is a company, so they have multiple products. Like HashiCorp products, if you just type. So we have Terraform Vault, and then Consul. There is something called Consul, like Kubernetes. Just scroll. Okay. Nomad, Vagrant, Packer, Terraform, Vault, Consul. So they have many products. For all those products, they are using this HashiCorp configuration language. Okay. So that is very simple. Don't worry. This is don't think like I'm learning one more scripting language. I'm learning one more syntax. Don't think like that, because for scripting, syntax is always different, always easy. And at any point of time, you should always think about concepts, variables, conditions, loops, functions, and then data types. That's it. Don't think like you are learning one more thing. Okay. So you are just understanding. You are not learning. So the basic syntax here is, first thing, it is resource. It is nothing but the resources you are creating. And then here, what resource? And here, name your resource. Your wish. Okay. So if you are creating something, you should always tell Terraform what is the resource you are creating. That is this one. Okay. So this is, you need to get from Terraform documentation. Okay. And this one, you can name it anything you want. Resource, what is the resource you are creating, and you name it, and then braces. That's it. Okay. So inside you have arguments or options or parameters. Arguments or options or parameters. So while creating EC2 instance, what are the things we selected? We selected OS, we selected key, we selected security group, and then what else we selected? Storage, all those things, right? So out of this, there are few mandatory, there are few optional. So how can you understand which one is mandatory, which one is optional? You can see here. AMI. So these are the arguments reference. Okay, by seeing this, you can understand what is optional, what is mandatory. Okay, so you can see AMI is optional if you give launch template. Otherwise, it is mandatory. Just read this. It's not optional actually. If you read this, you can understand. If you give launch template, it is optional. Otherwise, it is mandatory. First thing, AMI. It is mandatory. Let us just think. For now, it is mandatory. And then it is saying associate public IP address. Just click this. You will get more option. Associate public IP address. This is optional. And availability zone. This is optional. Capacity reservation. This is optional. And mostly everything is optional. So there is security group also. You can see security groups. So this is optional, but you may get some doubt. While creating EC2 instance, we are selecting security group, right? So this is optional generally. If you don't provide security group, default security group will be selected. Okay. So you can check in your AWS account, go to EC2. There is security group. There will be always one default security group. If you don't select a particular security group, this will be automatically selected. Okay. So while launching instances, now you can see OS is the only thing mandatory. You need to select which OS or AMI. And then instance type. If you don't, you can see by default it's selected t2.micro. So this is optional. Key pair. This is optional. Okay, generally if you don't select, obviously you will not have any key pair. And this one, security group. If you don't select anything through Terraform, by default there will be default security group, and storage is also given automatically. Okay, you can always customize, otherwise the optional values will be selected. I mean the default values will be selected. So now let us just create the instance. Okay. So creation of any resource. Creation of resource. What are the things? First thing, provider. You need to tell Terraform which provider you are using. What is the provider now we are using? It is AWS. So first thing here you need to select here is provider. What is the extension? Extension is TF, Terraform. So in Terraform, the file naming convention should be always .tf, means .terraform. Okay, The first thing you should create, remember this, whenever you are creating resources with Terraform, the first thing you should do is .tf, I mean provider.tf. Okay, so what is the syntax? Again, Terraform AWS provider. So Terraform will clearly tell you. Click on use provider. This is the syntax. Okay, just copy and paste. So you are telling Terraform, I'm using AWS provider, and this is the source, and this is the version. This is the latest version. Okay, and this one here. Okay, so remember this, the first file you create while using Terraform is provider.tf. So what are the options here? Region, you need to give region. Region is US East one. Okay. So you can give access key and secret key here. But security problem. Because we are going to commit this into the GitHub. So everybody can see your access key and secret key. Once they have your access key and secret key, and they can hack your account. They can hack your AWS account. They can create a lot of servers and they can use them for malicious purpose. So by mistake, if you push AWS access key and secret key into the GitHub, you will immediately get an email from GitHub to delete them. Okay. So make sure you never push your access key and secret key to the GitHub. So that is why we are configuring AWS configure, and then everything is in your server. Okay. How can you see? You can just go to the user. There will be .aws directory created. You can have credentials here. Okay, so these are your credentials, and then you have your config also. The config is nothing but which region. So we are telling Terraform, we are using AWS provider. This is the source and this is the version of the provider, and this is the region we are going to work on. Okay, and then let me give ec2.tf. Okay, what is the syntax? It should be resource. You install Terraform extensions. Okay, can get the syntax easily, but for first few days, don't install any extension. Okay, let us write it manually. The resource, and you need to give what is the resource. That you will get it from the Terraform documentation. So they call it as AWS underscore instance instead of EC2. Okay, AWS underscore instance, and you can give your name. I'm just giving my wish. I can decide. Okay, and braces. That's it. Okay, so inside this, you need to give an options. And what are the options we have? So that is AMI. AMI. What is our AMI ID? You can get it. Public images. DevOps practice. Okay, so this is our AMI ID. This is DevOps practice. In US East 1. Okay. And let us see instance type. So they are saying, okay, let me try to push this. Okay, and you'll understand. So go to that folder. Now we need to understand the commands. So provider we are using, and then we created ec2.pf. Now what are the commands? Terraform init. Only we have 3 commands, okay, maximum. Terraform init. So this will initialize. Terraform, and then Terraform plan. Terraform will tell us what are the resources it is going to create, and Terraform apply. It will create the resource. Okay. In Terraform plan, it is not creating, it is just planning. It will tell you what are the resources it is going to create. Okay. So this is the only step Terraform will create. So now let us give these commands Terraform init. So is it saying Terraform initialized in an empty directory? Why is it saying like that? Because it is not able to find any .tf files. You can see the directory has no Terraform configuration files. You need to give Terraform command in the directory where you have .tf files. Okay, go to that directory. Now I have .tf files. Now you can give Terraform init. Okay, you can see now it is trying to download the plugins. Is finding, and then it is installing AWS provider. So for the first time, I take, yeah. So Terraform has been successfully initialized. So after this, you can just check here. There is a .terraform directory created. Here you have this one, Terraform provider AWS version.exe. Okay, so this is the provider developed by AWS. Now, if you are the RoboShop developer, you can develop Terraform provider -RoboShop version.exe. Okay. So you now need to understand what is this. That is taken care by Terraform. Just you need to understand the providers will be downloaded inside .terraform folder and providers. And here you can just see provider is downloaded. And very important thing, you should not push this provider to the GitHub. Okay. So I'll show you here. Terraform. Site session .terraform is there. Providers and registry.terraform.io #port AWS version Windows. Here you can see how much memory it is, 321 MB. Okay, so this is not a code. So you should not push any softwares to the GitHub. Okay, remember that. If you push, you will get an error. So there is something called .ignore Terraform. Just keep this. Get this file. Now Git will ignore this. Just keep it. Sorry. .git ignore. .git ignore. This should be the naming, and you keep the content here. So you are telling Terraform, ignore this .terraform, ignore .tf, all something related. We will understand this anyhow. Okay. So GitHub is only for code. GitHub is only for code, not to push big folder files or movies, right? Or songs. To try to push, obviously you'll get an error. Okay. So remember this, you should have .git ignore always in your Terraform. Okay. You can keep it anywhere. You can keep it in a root folder also. .git ignore. So Git will ignore these files, .terraform directory, all those things. Okay. So Terraform init is done. Once you did Terraform init, Terraform will download the provider. Now Terraform plan. Terraform will tell you what are the resources it is going to create. And it is telling missing required argument. What is it? What is it missing actually? Instance type. Okay. So if you see the documentation here, so they are telling instance type is optional if you provide launch template. Obviously, we are not providing any launch template. So you have to provide instance type. You'll understand what is launch template later. Instance type. Okay. We are giving t2.micro. Okay. So that's it. These two are the mandatory arguments to create EC2 instance. Okay. Now, if you give Terraform plan, you can see one resource to add. So this is the one it is going to create. Okay. Now how to apply Terraform apply. That's it. Init, plan, and apply. Just like add, commit, push, you have init, plan, and apply. So Terraform is trying to apply, and it is just asking your approval. Just type yes. So it is telling it is creating. 10 seconds. Let us go to our console and then check here. You can see it is creating. Okay. Apply completed. One resource added. Okay, so this is how we can use Terraform. Now you can understand we wrote the code in VS Code, and then terraform.exe is the one we installed. Whenever you run the Terraform commands, Terraform connected with AWS account, and then it created the resources. Okay. So let us discuss a few questions on this. Okay. And then Santosh Avla.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, hi.
Hi, Shiva. Yeah, Shiva, we have to install the Terraform, right? Before you have to installing, we have to create the one user in AWS account, right? So suppose you have to apply any comments in our desktop. So first you switch that user, right? Before applying any comments.
Why no? This is not a Linux user. This is not some. This is AWS configure is the one we are using to configure the user. Where is it? AWS configure. This is the command we are using to configure the user. Why you need to switch? There is no such thing called switch here. So what I said, Terraform in background, it uses AWS CLI v2. Okay, it will get the credentials. Once you complete this step, you don't need to worry about that. Terraform will automatically get it. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Janardhan?
Yeah, hi Shiva. Good morning, Shiva.
Yeah, good morning.
Shiva, I just wanted to understand, like, okay, because in an organization, like these credentials, secret key and access key will be provided by whom? Generally, when we have a team of people, or maybe when you are working as individual contributor towards the project. So generally, from where we get these credentials, and
so whichever team is your AWS account owner, then they will create and then they will give it to you.
Oh, okay. So then these credentials we only have to configure in our laptops. That's where, right? Wherever we are working from in our workstation.
So yeah, generally we don't use our laptops. We will use Jenkins generally. Okay.
For this Terraform, the automating the infrastructure.
Yeah, you can store in your laptop also in a dev account, but for production accounts, you will never configure the credentials in your laptop. You will configure them inside Jenkins and somewhere in Linux servers. Okay, that is more secure.
Because Jenkins, I mean, like my question is, like, see, while writing the Terraform script and when we are doing the execution for testing purpose on the cloud, so obviously we will be working from our PCs only, right?
Only dev you will work from your PC. Only for development you will do it. Okay, not for the execution.
Okay.
So you can ignore that for now. Just understand the functionality. So all of you just think on the functionality. Don't think about what we do it in real time for now. So those are all the problems of the environment. That is not the functionality. Okay. Functionality is how you are configuring Terraform, how you are creating the resources, where to store the credentials. Either we can run Terraform commands from our laptop, or whether you can run Terraform commands from another system. That doesn't matter. Okay. For example, if I give you Linux server, if you run Terraform from there, will it have any difference of creating resources?
No, it will not be having any differences.
So there is no resource. Yeah, I understand your point. So for now, let's concentrate on this. We are just 1 month completed, right? Later you will understand automatically. So how can we do that properly in a real time?
Actually, that's what, like, I'm trying to understand, like, how the industry standards, like how they follow.
First thing, you should have the knowledge how the concept and how the tools are working. And understanding the standards doesn't matter. If you are already if you are joining into a company like TCS tomorrow, automatically you will understand the standards within 1 or 2 weeks. So they have some procedure. They will tell you what are the standards they are following, but they will
Oh,
not tell you how to use Terraform, how to write Terraform syntax. Okay.
okay.
So
Okay.
every project, they have some standards. Standards are always different. Best practices are always different across many projects. There are best practices, there are best standards we will definitely follow, but for now, concentrate on the functionality. Okay.
Yeah, fine, sure.
So,
Actually, see, why
yeah.
I'm asking this question, I don't know, this question may be too early to ask. Generally, in the interviews, no, people will be asking like, okay, where do you keep your credentials? Like one of the interview questions, something like that. So that's way to,
Yeah, correct.
because when we, I mean, miss these questions, generally we'll be losing the interview. That's where like, to generally in the interviews to test whether you are a real-time guy or not. So people will be asking where you keep your credentials, how you secure your credentials. These are the common questions that they are asking nowadays. That's the reason I raised it. I don't know whether it is too early to ask.
Correct. Yeah, maybe too early, because we are going to discuss secrets manager that we can store, and we have a proper way to store it inside Jenkins. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So there you can store the credentials securely. But for now, let us concentrate on the functionality.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
First preference is always to understand the functionality. How is it working? Second preference is best standards. If I talk about best standards, then you will never understand the actual concept.
Yeah. Fine.
So that's
sir.
what we followed for the Ansible. Not only for you, but the way I'm telling is, first we should understand the thing. How is it working? Like Ansible. So if I tell you the best standards in the first session itself, you will be confused. First, you need to understand how Ansible is working. How can you write the Ansible playbooks? Then at the last point of time, now you know something about Ansible. That is the time to discuss about the best standards. Okay. Similarly here, first we need to understand the functionality. We need to understand how is it working. We need to write. We need to get some confidence so that you can write, and then you can understand how is it working. So at later point of time, if you learn about best standards, then you will be good.
Fine, sure, no problem.
Yeah.
I'll raise
not only
a few
for
more questions
Terraform,
at the end of the Terraform, maybe at the end of every question.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, not only for Terraform, for any
Mhm.
concept we are discussing, that is the way I'm following. Okay, thank you so much. Srinu?
Yeah, hi Shiva, good morning.
Yeah, hi, good morning.
Yeah, is there any way like by using Terraform graphical user interface, can we deploy our infrastructure?
No, there is no graphical user interface for Terraform.
Actually, we are using in our organization to create EC2 instances and resources by using Terraform GUI.
Terraform Enterprise Cloud, that is again a product from
Okay.
Terraform Enterprise. Okay, here you may get some UI like this.
Yes, like this.
The graphical user interface is I don't prefer graphical user interface. That is the one killing our concept. So if I show you graphical user interface, you will just drag and drop.
Yeah.
But you will not understand what is happening in the background. Okay. So our preference is to understand what is happening in the background. Not every company will go for Terraform Enterprise, because that is a paid one.
Okay.
But Terraform is free. Terraform Enterprise is costly. And yeah, you will never understand what is happening in background if you use
Okay, this is
Terraform
only
graphical interface.
specifically for whoever opted for enterprise editions, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Yes,
So now you will drag and drop here, then you will never understand what is happening in the back. That is the problem of GUI.
Okay. Yeah, got it. Thank you, sir.
Most welcome. So you know how Terraform is working, then you can do anything later.
Yeah.
So now just try to understand. So the steps we have configured till now, that is creating the resources.
Okay.
So we will move to the next concept. Okay, so this is the basic syntax of Terraform. Okay, resource, and then this braces and these key value pairs. You can see this is the key, this is the value, this is the key, this is the value. This is the HCL syntax. HashiCorp configuration language. The name is very big, but the syntax is very simple. Okay. So as a first thing, while discussing shell and Ansible, the first thing we discussed is variables and data types. So let us create a file variables.tf generally. Okay. Ideally, you can keep everything in a single TF file. You can cut the provider from here and you can keep variables here, but that is not a good maintenance. Okay. The proper maintenance is to separate the files always. So that is why I'm keeping it inside different files. Okay, for variables, I'm creating a separate file variables.tf so that if anyone sees your Terraform code, they will easily understand, okay, so this file is related to the EC2 resource and this file is related to the provider. This file is related to the variables.tf variables. Okay, so that is how you should manage your folder structure. Ideally, you can keep everything in a single .tf file, but it is very difficult to understand and to change, to maintain everything. So that is why I'm creating separate files, and you do it same in your projects also. So now tomorrow, if you want to change the AMI ID, actually you have to come here and you need to give a new AMI ID and you need to run the commands again. But instead of that, changing in a main file, you can always have one variable. That's what we did in Shell and Ansible. Okay, what is the syntax of Terraform variable? Again, it is simple. Terraform variables. Okay, the syntax here is variable and then variable name and then, so this is the syntax. Now I'm going to give variable. I'm giving it as AMI ID. You can give anything you want. Okay, AMI ID, and let us see what are the options available. We have type. Type is nothing but data type, string, and then value, you can give default value. So what is the AMI ID? So this is our AMI ID. I'm cutting it from here and then I'm keeping it here. Okay, so this is the default value. This is the data type. Okay, in Terraform we have few data types. Again, the same data types. Terraform data types, that is string, representing a generally a word, number, and then boolean, either true or false, list or map. So the same data types, whatever we had in Ansible, here also you have the same data types. It can be a string, it can be a number, it can be boolean, it can be a map, it can be a list. So that's it. So obviously this is string, right? This is the syntax. How you refer here, it is, let me keep it. I'm creating edit. I'm commenting this. Okay. Yeah, before this, let me delete. Or if you comment this, let us see what will happen. Toggle line comment. So what will happen? You just give Terraform plan. What it is saying? One to destroy. Why is it destroying? Because you commented. You commented means it almost is, it is like you removed it. So this you commented. It means you don't want any instances. So obviously it will delete the previous instance. Okay. If you give Terraform apply, the meaning of comment is you don't want that resource. That is what declarative. Whatever you write, you will get it. Now I commented, it will delete. Okay, it will destroy now. You can say this. Is destroyed. Okay, so now just referring the variables. How you refer the variable? It is just var dot AMIID. That's it. Okay, similarly, let us create a variable for our instance type. I'm giving it the name as instance type, and then type is string. Generally, it is not mandatory. Terraform will automatically understand this. Okay, for example, let us comment this, and then default t2 dot micro. Okay, you no need to give the type actually, because Terraform intelligently it will understand what is the data type of this. Obviously, this is string. Okay, how you refer here? Var dot instance type. Okay. So while executing, Terraform will see, okay, this is a variable. I need to get it somewhere. Then Terraform will search all the TF files until it find the AMI ID. So it is finding AMI ID here, and it will get this value. And then similarly, it will search for instance type in all TF files, and it will get from here, and then it will do it. Okay. Now let us go for Terraform plan. So it is telling the plan is one resource to add. Now give Terraform apply. It is asking for our approval. Just provide yes. So it is creating the instance again. Okay. What is the security group here? It is default, because you are not selecting any particular security group. So Terraform is selecting the default security group. Now I want our allow all security group, or I want to create some security group. Okay. So what is the syntax? Terraform AWS security group. Okay, not modules. Okay, not modules. We'll see that later. Example, this one. No, this is also modules. We'll see that later. This is also module sheet. Terraform security group. Or else here, Just go to this Terraform. Let us just give terraform.io and then registry, providers, AWS, documentation. Now you can check here all the resources. You can always search security group. Okay. Where is security group? Yeah, you can see AWS_security group. So this is the syntax. Now what I do here is I will create AWS security group. I will attach this security group to EC2 instance. So this is what I'm going to do. So now let us delete this. How to delete the resources? Terraform destroy. So it is saying I'm going to destroy one thing. Just give me an approval. So I'm giving yes. Now it will start destroying it. Okay, it's destroying it. So now I want to create security group. So always try to create one file that is sg.pf. Let us get the syntax. Resource AWS security group. Okay. So I'm trying to give allow all. Okay. So this is the syntax, and inside, what are the parameters? Name. First thing, you give name. Okay. So since we have already one security group with that name, you may get an error like allow all. What I do here is I will delete this. Now let me create. Okay. Name. Again, I will keep it in variable. Variable security group name. Okay. You can just give default allow all. Okay. How can you refer here? Var.sg name. And what else? Description. So these things are not mandatory, but always good to keep. Okay. Just give description. Description allowing all ports. Okay. You can keep this in variable. And what else? VPC ID. So this is mandatory. If you don't give, it will take the default VPC. But anyhow, we are using default VPC. You can leave it. No need to give VPC ID. And then, yeah, what is the ingress and what is the egress? Now let us take this ingress. Okay. Description can keep always allowing all traffic, all inbound traffic, for example. From port. So if you want to give everything, that is from port 0 to port 0. Okay, from port 0 to port 0. then it will take all the ports. Protocol TCP, that is fine, and CIDR blocks. IPv6, it's not mandatory. You're not working with IPv6. And then here you can see 0.0.0.0. Now, what is this? Okay, so this is list. This is list actually. So in Terraform, variable SG for example, I'm giving it SG CIDR, security group CIDR. So this is type equal to list. How can you understand it is a list? Because it will start with braces. Okay, 0.0.0.0/0. You can have any number of elements like this. Okay, 1.2, okay, something like 192.165.250.254. Something like this, slash something or something like 32. Like you'll understand this later in a CIDR format. But for now, how can you understand it as a list? It will always start with these brackets. That's why I'm giving it as list also. So you keep it here as var.sgcidr and egress. Keep this is outbound, right? Egress is nothing but outbound. Remove this IPv6. It's not mandatory, or if you keep it also not a problem. -1 means all protocols. Okay. From port 0 to port 0 means all ports. Protocol TCP, and then -1 protocol means all protocols. That's it. You can always give here var.sgcidr. So this is the security group. Now in this EC2, I want to mention the security group. How can you mention? So there will be security group option. You can see list of security group names associated with. Okay, it is list. The option is security groups. So you need to mention here security groups, and it is a list. List means start with this. I created a security group. How can I get it? What it is saying here, list of security group names. How can you get this here is, what is the resource type? This is type, this is name. Okay, now I need to give type dot name of your resource dot name. Okay, so now what is the type? AWS security group dot, what is the name? I gave allow all. Okay. Allow all dot name. Okay. This is what you can give. How can you understand that? You can just check here. When you create a resource, these are the options you have. And this attributes means these are the things you are getting from the ID. Thanks. So these are the options you will get it from the security group also. Okay, so just if you see an example. AWS subnet dot example dot id. Then you will get the id created by this block. Okay. So in entire Terraform, if you want to retrieve some value, you need to always give type of the resource and what is the name you provided and what is the attribute it has. Okay. So now if I give like this, then Terraform will connect, will check this AWS security group and dot allow all and what is the name you have given. So it will automatically attach the security group to this EC2 instance. So now let us run and understand more. Terraform plan. So what it is saying, two resources to add. What is one resource EC2 instance? What is another resource? Security group. Now if I give Terraform apply, just give S. It is creating first security group. And then later it is creating the instance. So what is the advantage of it? While discussing Terraform, what is the advantage I told you? Dependency management. Automatic dependency management. Okay. So that is the power of declarative approach. Okay, you no need to give the sequence to Terraform. So Terraform will automatically understand. For example, while running this EC2 instance, it has seen a dependency. Okay, I have a dependency on this security group. So first I should create the security group and then I should create EC2 instance. If you are going to do this manually, so you should have that knowledge, right? But here Terraform, you no need to inform Terraform. It is automatically understanding the dependencies. So there is no need of sequence. You can see here, two resources are added. And if you just check here in refresh, allow all security group is created and it is attached to our instance also. Okay. So we can stop till here today. So today you go and set up Terraform, try to create the resource, try to understand the variable things, and you just understand the dependency management, how Terraform is handling automatically. And tomorrow we will continue the variables. Okay. You can keep this in number. So this is number. So just remember, this is the list. We'll start with this bracket. This is list. Okay. So any questions? Yeah, Sukumar.
Hi Shiva, good morning.
Yeah, hi. Good morning.
Yeah, Shiva, you have given the name in sg.tf as allow underscore all and variables.tf you have given allow hyphen all. Is it okay?
Yeah, so this is variable name. So this is resource name. Okay, so this is the resource name. This is variable name. Both are different.
Okay.
You can give the same name or same thing, that doesn't matter.
Okay.
We have proper naming convention also. Best practice to follow the naming convention while giving the names to the resources. Okay, obviously it is not the one you give, right? There should be some proper naming. We will discuss that. Best practices of naming conventions.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
And Then Harika Reddy. Harika Reddy. You can unmute. Okay. Shiva $123. All of you just try to keep your full name. Okay. I already mentioned this in Google document. So don't keep something random names in Zoom session. Shiva $123. You can unmute and ask. Okay, anyhow, so no questions, sir. Janardhan, what is the question?
Yeah, hi Shiva.
Yeah, hi.
Actually, we are referring the Terraform documentation for writing these scripts, right? So, for example, if you take EC2 instance Terraform block, what you have written in your script, so there can be multiple fields, okay? And you said that, okay, like how can we find that which are the mandatory fields that we need to mention as part of the block, and which are the optional fields?
Here it is clearly mentioned, right? Optional.
Yeah, most of them are optional only, but couldn't see like which is the mandatory that we need to mention as part of the resource block.
Okay, let us take security group. So we'll see what is required here. VPC ID is optional, name is optional. If it is optional, it has something. Optional, then it is giving default VPC if you don't give any particular VPC ID.
Okay.
Okay. So ingress is optional. Just while creating this security group here, if I just create, is asking only name and description.
Yeah.
Okay, remaining things it is not asking. You can see VPC ID by default it selected the default VPC, and this ingress and outbound these are not mandatory. Okay, so only it is asking for the name. But in Terraform, you can see what it is giving. If you don't give name, it will assign a random name.
Okay.
Obviously, we don't want random name. That is why I'm giving name.
Okay. And for example, if you take EC2 instance, as part of the EC2 instance, I think we have the AMI ID and then.
Yeah, here it is actually required. You need to completely read this. So there is something called launch template. Either you give AMI ID or launch template. One out of those two. And you remember that we got an error if I don't give instance type.
Yeah, correct.
Why
Yeah.
I got that error? Because they are saying either you use launch template or instance type. Obviously, we are not using launch template. That is why we got an
instance type is mandatory. Became mandatory there.
Yeah. For example, let us take VPC or Route 53 record here. You can see it is required. It is required.
Yeah, June VPC is required. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Hello.
Yeah, fine, sure. Thank you for that.
Yeah, most welcome. Chandrasekhar.
Hi, sir.
Yeah, hi.
Yeah, actually, we are doing from Windows, right? Same like, can we create an AWS Linux server and we can make from there also?
Yeah, you can do it from there also. Again, you need to push this code to the GitHub and you need to clone there.
Okay, same like Ansible.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, we need to do every time if we can create from EC2 instance.
Yes, you need to push every time to GitHub, pull there, and then you run the Terraform commands.
Okay, the code will be remaining same, right?
Yes, code is always same.
Okay, thank you.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, hi Shiva.
Yeah, hi.
Yeah, hi sir. Actually, yesterday I have joined in this session. So I am just doing the practice.
since
Mhm.
yesterday only.
Okay.
I am unable to connect with the server. Like the T3.micro was not T3.micro is showing instead of T2.micro in AWS.
So you can post the question in Slack, and today we have QA session. There also you can discuss.
Okay, when it will happen, like in QA session,
You got that information in Google document.
Google document. Okay, okay.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
sir.
So post the question in Slack. Any of us can help you. Okay, so that's all for today. Thank you so much. See you in tomorrow's session. Bye bye.
Sir, I have one more doubt. Is there any recession recordings regarding doubt sessions only?
Is there any?
Is there any previous recordings which is belongs to the only doubt sessions? Like already.
Yeah, you have that information in again in Google document.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Yeah. So that's all for today. Thanks so much. Have a nice day. See you in tomorrow's session. Bye bye.